You ever have that feeling that you're just working too hard, that you just can't quite get ahead, and you wish you could just take a very long break? Well, this is Evan from Enlightened Workshops. You've come to the right place. Today, we're going to dig into how do you get out of that cycle? How do you get off that hamster wheel? It's different than you might think. So you're running around, you're working so hard, you already feel like you're stretched to your limit. And then there's the 10 other things that you can't get to. How do you get out of this impossible situation? Do you learn how to become more efficient? Do you become more superhuman? Do you wake up an hour earlier? Do you meditate another 30 minutes so that you can wake up an hour earlier and try to get more done? As somebody who's tried all those things, I can sort of tell you that's not the way out. And as somebody who is experiencing a lot of peace and freedom, especially around my schedule in my life, I can tell you the way out is very different than you might expect. For me, what happened and what I recommend for you is I had to learn that my busyness was actually a cover up. In other words, it's an addiction like any other addiction. The point of an addiction is to numb out and to not feel. So the addiction to being busy is a very socially acceptable addiction. It looks really good. And so people are like, yeah, you're doing well. And so you feel like I'm on track. But the reality is a lot of the busyness is just so that I don't have a moment to rest and stop and feel my emotions. Have you ever had that experience where you're sitting there on the couch and you're like, you have to do something, you can't just sit there? That's a symptom of this. And so what I learned how I had to do is I had to learn how to just sit there. And I had to watch my mind and I had to watch my emotions. And I could see that every 3 seconds, my mind was pitching me an idea that I had to do right then at that moment. I had to get out and do it. And I had to learn how to say no to my mind. And there's a line from an old book I read, The Way of the Spiritual Warrior, that says, the spiritual warrior remains unmoving until the right action occurs within him. And that was sort of the template that I used. And it's kind of a way out as I stopped saying no to this addiction of busyness. And every time I started to tune in to the frequency of the vibration of the idea that was being pitched to me. I'm getting too fat. I'd better go to yoga. How peaceful is that idea? I started to judge an idea by how happy the energy was that was presenting the idea. And I found that most of the time, most of the ideas were wrapped in fear. And I stopped choosing fear. And as I stopped choosing fear, I started waiting for a truer kind of idea. And I started to do those things. And that was my way out. I just kept choosing the more peaceful thing. Now, it would be a lie to say that this was just a comfortable and relaxed process, because it was a little bit like, 40 days and 40 nights of, Jesus sort of dealing with his demons. It's like those voices are very strong and they're very scary and they're very attacking kind of thing. So it wasn't just sitting there wasn't relaxing. It was a little bit challenging. So, this is the path out I recommend. And, if you're interested in learning more about how to do this and how to get out of that cycle of busyness and that cycle of having fear be the thing that's choosing your actions in life, come check out our upcoming workshops. We have workshops on emotional sobriety. We have workshops on workaholism. We hope to see you there at Enlightened Workshops, and have a great one. Cheers.